Hey guys, RanterInShades here, excited my first to memorize vlog style, and in honor of breaking 200,000 total views on this channel, it's time for an episode of What's Wrong With that may or may not lose me some subscribers. Hopefully not.
What's wrong with me? You wanna know what's wrong with me? I can ask you the exact same thing. What's wrong with me?
First of all, yes, you are reading the title of this video correctly. Yes, the thumbnail for this video is correct. This is indeed a What's Wrong With on Nickelback. I've always intended on talking about this band for this series, and that time is now. I'm sure some of you are probably asking yourselves, Shades, you just put out a video of your biggest guilty pleasures. Nickelback should have been there, if anything. There's a reason why they weren't. Nickelback to me isn't a guilty pleasure. They're a straight up pleasure, and I have no problem admitting that. Like I said at the beginning of this video, there's a chance that a video defending Nickelback could cost me a few subscribers, but I really hope that isn't the case. So I'll say right now, before I begin making my points, that if this video does get you to unsubscribe from my channel because you can't fathom the idea of someone not bashing Nickelback, then that says to me that you've learned jack from watching my videos. I hate this double standard that I've seen in a few viewers of mine where they'll agree with the majority of the points that I make in my videos and then completely turn face when I defend a band they don't like. I try to preach the concept of respecting opinions on this channel, and turning face and unsubscribing because Nickelback, according to you, is apparently exempt from every point I've ever made pretty much contradicts that. So if people do unsubscribe after this video, then chances are I don't want you as a subscriber anyway. With that said, let's begin. I've always found Nickelback to be a fairly decent band. As far as instrumentation and production, I've never really had any problems with them. It's just straight up good old grungy hard rock, which is never something I would object to. Nickelback were brought to my attention at a time when I would listen to just about anything on the radio that wasn't white girl rap, snap rap, or anything that sounded even remotely like Natasha Bedingfield or Sheryl Crow. So I took a liking to Nickelback and their sound, especially since I was already a fan of Three Doors Down at this time. As far as hard rock goes, they don't really do anything particularly offensive, apart from the song She Keeps Me Up from their most recent album, which is such a sad attempt at trying to sound like Maroon 5. That did make me cringe a lot. But other than that, and maybe with their oversaturation of ballads, which I'll get to later, they don't really do much that's different from other hard rock bands, so I feel having a problem with them on a musical level seems like a big double standard. They do have some good hard rock songs, especially outside their big hits. The songs I tend to like from Nickelback are generally their more metal-y songs like Side of a Bullet, Burn It to the Ground, Never Again, Because of You, Bottoms Up, Animals, This Means War, and a good bit more from their first few albums, as well as with Edge of a Revolution, the debut single from their most recent album, No Fixed Address. Side of a Bullet in particular is my favorite Nickelback song for one reason and one reason only: the guitar solo. Not only was this song written about the murder of Dimebag Darrell, but that solo you just heard was a solo played by Dimebag from around the time of Far Beyond Driven that Vinnie Paul and Rita Haney, Dimebag's then-girlfriend, sent Nickelback. They even wanted to have Vinnie Paul play drums on this track, which would have been pretty goddamn killer, but unfortunately he declined. I suppose it would have saved him from the possibility of Pantera fans calling him a sellout. So whenever people bash Nickelback, I always wonder if they've ever listened to Side of a Bullet, because I'm sure their opinion would be a lot different if they have. I feel similarly whenever people bash Alter Bridge by calling them Creed ripoffs when they sound nothing like Creed. Just because 3 of the members came from Creed doesn't automatically make them Creed ripoffs. For one, Miles Kennedy has a much better voice and a much wider vocal range than Scott Stapp. For 2, the writing is much more complex than what Creed was known for. The songs are a lot heavier, and Mark Tremonti is playing a lot more complicated of riffs and solos than he did in Creed. The point I'm trying to make is that when people bash a band, oftentimes they're only basing it off of a single song or two, and not even giving the band a real chance, especially a band like Alter Bridge. Listen to Cry of Achilles and then tell me they're fucking Creed ripoffs. Sorry for the tangent, but that's something that really pisses me off about people. Back to Nickelback. Even Nickelback's big radio hits don't really strike a chord with me. I don't think Photograph is bad sounding at all. Sure, I like making jokes about it, and I think Nickel Stats and every other parody of that is fucking hilarious.
Look at this graph.
But other than that, I don't think Photograph is a bad song. Same with Rockstar, Far Away, Saving Me, and a lot of their other singles. To segue into the debunking the flack portion of this video, like I said before, the oversaturation of their ballads is something that rubs me wrong ever so slightly. But as far as hard rock ballads, I don't think they're bad of songs. I can understand how one might find it redundant how every album they've done from All the Right Reasons and onward needs to have 1 or 2 or sometimes even 3 ballads. Even as a self-proclaimed glam nerd and someone who's a sucker for a good power ballad, I agree that more than 2 ballads on an album is really pushing it. Another problem I know people have with Nickelback is Chad Kroeger's voice. He does have a very noticeable rasp, which I think is one of those things that you either don't mind or find to be really fucking annoying. I don't really care, to be honest. Obviously, he isn't the best singer in the world, which is subjective, but I guess for his style, it's passable, if anything. The only other reasons I've seen people give as to why they hate Nickelback are really just one-sentence answers, such as saying that it's too simplistic, which implies that simplicity is bad. Let me tell you, music doesn't need to be technical in order to be good. Why is simplicity frowned upon? I've never understood that. And of course the whole it's cliched, it's marketable, kind of thing. If you were a 70s, 80s rock fan saying that, you would sound very hypocritical to me. Nickelback are marketable, woohoo. How different is their marketability from that of Bon Jovi in the 80s, or Queen, Aerosmith, or even Rush in the 70s or 80s?
Consistency!
If you just don't like hard rock at all, let alone modern rock, congratulations. But why make Nickelback your primary target? Whenever people say that Nickelback are the worst band ever, I usually think they haven't listened to much music to really come to that grand of a conclusion. I've listened to a lot of music over the years, and if you've ever listened to a band like Eal, or a band like Sleigh Bells, or even Eagles of Death Metal, and you still think Nickelback is the worst, then I'm honestly gonna think you're insane. Seriously, go listen to Eal. Their music's terrible. Worst music I've ever heard. The last thing I want to talk about before I end this video is that wonderful petition that was made some time back to ban Nickelback from playing in the UK. Really? Just because you don't like a band, you have to outright ban them from your country and ruin the fun for everyone else? That's fucked up. It sounds no different than the people I described in my video called Hey SJW's Metalgate is Still Here, where I depicted a scenario where Alice in Chains gets banned from a venue for being anti-Christian. The only difference is that this time it's for a dumber and even pettier reason. No band should be banned, pardon the pun, from playing anywhere, especially if it's just because of the grandiose reason of, oh, they just suck. You don't like them? Don't go to their show, genius. No one's forcing you to go to a Nickelback show. But to create a petition to outright ban them is just retarded. Whether you love or hate Nickelback, or any band for that matter, they have a right to play wherever they want, or wherever they get booked, for their fans and anyone else who just wants to see them. So shame on that guy who made that goddamn petition. One big reason I have a good bit of respect for Nickelback is because they've put up with all this shit for 20 years. That takes a lot to endure, and even you gotta admit that. The fact that they haven't given in, cowered down, and quit music really should say a lot about how thick their skin is. That's all I gotta say here. Now here's the part where I ask you, the viewer, what's wrong with Nickelback? Please be rational when leaving your thoughts in the comment section below, and have a great day. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time. And yes, indeed, this is a new Bayside shirt that I actually got just last night as I am recording this. I drove all the way out to New Haven for this show because it was the closest that they were playing to where I'm at, and it was totally worth it.